SCORE Maine. If you're unfamiliar with SCORE, SCORE is a small business mentor service where we provide free one-on-one mentoring with folks who've been there, they've started businesses, or they've worked their way up in their careers and they're looking to give back. So they take their time to volunteer their time back to small business owners who are looking to get started. And we also do small business topical workshops just like this one for free here in the state of Maine for small businesses as well. And we're able to do workshops like this one thanks to institutions like Norway Savings Bank, who has generously sponsored this workshop for us to put it on here today. So a huge thank you to Norway Savings Bank. And today I'll be talking a little bit about AI for small business. And to kind of get into the very basics of AI, we've had, people talk about AI a lot. We've heard about it a lot in the news recently, but it's not necessarily the new thing that a lot of people think it is. People have probably heard machine learning before. Machine learning is just an older name for AI or artificial intelligence. And really, when people talk about AI nowadays, what they're really talking about and what they're referring to are large language models and how that works as a prompt-based system. So when someone's looking to use AI or get engaged with AI, what they're really doing is they're asking a machine learning algorithm to do something, and then they're getting a result from it. And a prompt is that request or that ask. And when you're making prompts, what's really critically important is context. If you're familiar with AI, a lot of this is going to be very like low level informational. If you're not, this is kind of like the getting started point. We'll get more in depth as we go along. But context is incredibly important for using or utilizing AI in business work. It only has the information that you provided in your prompt and in other prompts that you provided it in the past. So it can only build on the information that it has. If it doesn't have the information that you're hoping that it has, then it's kind of building off of guesswork, or it's trying to make something up, and that's not a good thing. Another thing to consider is iteration. Because context is so important, that means it's only providing one perspective or one aspect of that perspective for the context that it has. But you can always iterate with this. You can always go in and ask it, hey, that's not that particular thing is incorrect, or what if we drill down further on this part over here and give me three different versions of this thing that you put out over here. It really helps make refinement happen, and refinement is key when you're using this as a tool. And keep in mind, it is a tool. And the reason why AI can do all of these things, why you can give it a prompt, give it a little bit of information as context, and ask it to spit out a couple of different versions or iterations of that, is because it's very good at pattern recognition. That's really what it's trying to do, is it's trying to cobble together a pattern that it recognizes that it thinks that you will say yes to. And what that really means is it doesn't understand truth versus fiction. It doesn't, the concept of facts don't really come into play here very much for an AI, because what it's really trying to do is provide you with an output that you like. So in order to get to an output that you like, it's willing to tell you anything that it can. Even if you ask it to tell you the truth, it doesn't necessarily know what truth is. So it's just something to keep in mind is it can be confident, but it can also be confidently incorrect. And most AI currently that you'll see and that we cover in this presentation is much more focused on things that you can use in the office or things that are useful to the technology that you use in your business. If you already have existing software solutions, I would really recommend checking with those software solutions to see if they're utilizing AI, if you're hoping to use AI in a part of your business. A good example of what that might look like is QuickBooks. QuickBooks is starting to utilize AI, and if you already use QuickBooks and you're hoping to utilize it in that part of your business, that might be a good first step for you rather than trying out an AI specific or an AI focused accounting software. And like I was saying, the one we all keep hearing about is text generation, your natural language processing tool. And really what it does is, and what they're trying to go for here is something that understands written language and it responds as if it understands written language. And they do that by training it on a lot of text data. This is usually data that they scrape from the internet. It might look like training it on, if you're familiar with Reddit, it might look like training it on information from Reddit so that it has the context for the information that it's providing as well. But, famously, Reddit is not always correct. It is the internet. Not everything you read on the internet is true. So that data isn't always 100% validated as truth. There are currently three big players, and this is always seems to be changing a little bit. There are new up and coming folks coming into the game. But of course, there's ChatGPT, there's Claude, and there is Gemini, which is Google's AI, formerly known as Bard. And all three of these have free versions, which are a great starting point for AI, and they can significantly speed up the administrative work that you do in your business as a small business owner. And then, of course, what I would say is the other end of, or I'm sorry, of course, we have uses for text generation. What can we utilize this for? Some really helpful starting points are things like writing a blog. Maybe you have an outline for a blog and you'd like to kind of flesh it out. You can ask AI to kind of give it some bones, and then you can rewrite it from there to make sure it's in your own words. It's also really good at brainstorming. Maybe you're trying to start or get to that outline point. It's phenomenal at summarizing a document. If you have a long document that you really need to dig into, Notebook LM is a great example of an AI that's really good at that. It can do things like help write email responses, craft a task list, make a SWOT analysis, help with your marketing plan, customer analysis. I mean, there are many different ways where it can act as almost like a sounding board or a way for you to speed up the brainstorming part of a process. And the reason why I would really recommend using it at this point really kind of comes down to that data errors and data validation point. It isn't one, you don't want to plagiarize directly from an AI. It's typically pretty easy to tell when someone just copies and pastes from ChatGPT and it doesn't look very good. But another thing is like, is it always going to be 100% in your voice or in your perspective? Or are you going to have to answer for something that the AI said that you don't actually believe in? And because of that, you want to make sure that you're always checking for data errors when you utilize this kind of tool. And then we have what I would call the other side of the coin. And this is the other half of the AI coin that you hear people talking about, image generation. A huge point about image generation, kind of in opposition to utilizing text generation, is image generation typically is done on a very limited number of tokens. So you only get so many images that you can generate in a month, so to speak. So the quality of your prompt can be a much bigger impact here. So I would really recommend experimenting if you're going to do image generation, experiment with things like perspective, angle, focal point, depth of field, things like that, in order to make sure that you're able to really dial in the prompt as you'd like it. Uh, Another thing is a lot of these tools allow you to attach reference images. If you have an image of something that you're already looking to go for, trying to attach an image of something that's at least similar is a really good starting point to kind of nail the vibe, if you know what I mean. And you can experiment with variation and iteration to get exactly what you're looking for once you have a good idea of how to generate those initial prompts. And there are a lot of tools for this now. Some of the bigger players are Dali, Midjourney, and Getty Generative AI. And you can see here I've generated an image of someone enjoying a coffee on the beach with generative AI. And I asked in the next slide, uh, I would like to see someone in a beach wheelchair. Same prompt, but just instead of sitting there in a chair, I want to see a beach wheelchair. As you can see, it didn't understand what a beach wheelchair was, which is a specific piece of accessible equipment. So it wasn't able to produce the image that I was really looking for. So that's one of the considerations that you might have when you're working with AI is it didn't have the context to understand what I was asking about. And with image generation, there are a lot of different things you can utilize it for, like the image side or the visual side of a blog post. You can use it to remove the background from a selfie so you can create a professional looking headshot. You can do things like product visualization or generating flyers or other marketing materials. You just want to make sure that any image that you generate is commercially safe to use. It looks like we have a question here in the chat. How do you decide which to use between ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini? That's a great question. I would really kind of go back to what I was saying earlier. If you already use the Google Suite, then Gemini will probably very easily fit into your existing workflow. If you don't and you're more of a programmer, Claude is considered more of a programmer's tool. So it'll really kind of come down to what do you already use, and is if one of those people or one of those software providers already providing a service similar to this. My recommendation would be to start there because it's already more likely to integrate into your current workflows. But to give you some insight personally, I use Claude most of the time if I'm not running something locally on my computer. There are also custom GPTs. So this is kind of like the next level when it comes to what you can do beyond just chatting with it or generating some information. And a custom GPT, or you'll otherwise hear called a custom agent or an AI agent, is a tailored AI assistant designed to understand and respond based on specific needs, data, and workflows. It automates repetitive tasks, enhances efficiency, and provides personalized support by training on your business documents, FAQs, processes, and generates relevant responses and assists with things like decision making and integrating with existing tools. Uh, you could probably tell this was generated with a custom GPT that helps me build slide decks. That's just one of the things that I felt like was a specific tool that I could dig deep enough into to really kind of keep things moving on. And I think it works pretty well. But it really kind of comes down to what's a specific task that you do often enough to where a customized tool will be a good fit. And there are some other areas where they can be helpful, such as doing for my work, I do marketing. So I do things like marketing plans with custom GPTs or a custom AI agent. And you typically need a plus or a paid account in order to develop a custom AI agent. It really helps to define the business need that you're specifically asking it to help with and give it specific data that you're asking it to help with. An example of how you might see something like this in the wild is you might see a company that uses a chatbot on its website to interact with clients who are looking to ask questions. That's a version of a custom GPT that's implemented on a website and is trained on the customer service data for that company. And it can be very helpful, but a lot of times customers can also be off-put by interacting with an AI. So it's something where you'll want to make sure that's something that really fits for your business and you're utilizing a custom agent in areas that make the most sense. My personal recommendation as a small business owner is to not use something like this that's public facing, if you can. And just to kind of lean into some of the concerns with AI, and not only we have environmental concerns and other social concerns and things of that nature, but there are also concerns around just usage. It's not correct all the time, and we can't take it at face value. A good example of what that can look like is what's called the strawberry problem. AI platforms don't think, quote unquote, in words or syllables. They're not people. They don't think at all. What they do is they interpret binary, ones and zeros. So it converts the language that we speak to binary, and binary is parsed in tokens. Tokens is like a package of binary, and tokens are really the AI's native language. So it doesn't really know when it's confused or missing something or something like that when it comes to utilizing English language, but it'll understand it in bits. And what I mean by that is you can see on this screenshot I have on this page, and this is an old issue that has since been patched, but this shows the flaws in utilizing AI as a tool. ChatGPT is completely convinced that the word strawberry only has two R's in it, even though you can count that it has three R's in it. And it will double down on that even if you ask it, or even if you correct it in the comment. We had another question in the chat here. Is a company's information secure when using AI? No information that you put into an AI platform should be assumed to be private. Do you have to use the paid version to secure a company's information? Even if they're telling you it's secure, there have been so many data breaches by so many companies, whether on purpose or not. These companies have historically not had a great track record with data privacy. So take that as you will. Can you pull information from an AI once it's been used? Yeah, there are people who that's what they do is they try to see if they can pull information from large AI models to see if they can get corporate secrets. So I would not recommend utilizing any kind of information that you would not willingly hand over to a random person on the street in an AI platform. User beware, there are other things to consider as well. Not only environmental impacts, but things like do you own the outputs that are being provided to you? Review the privacy policies. As I mentioned, anonymize data if needed. Do not provide confidential information to these platforms. Check for data ownership rights. You might not own the output that you're providing. The platform might, which means you might not be able to legally use it as advertising. Many AI models are also trained on existing work that they do not provide credit to or sourcing for, and that's probably eventually going to be a problem. So just some considerations to keep in mind beyond the environmental considerations, which are very uh, I would say lodged in public consciousness right now. There are these other business considerations as well to keep in mind when you're utilizing AI. And for some of these reasons, there are open source AI platforms that allow you to run an AI software on your machine, and you're not sending it to a data center to be processed with other AIs, and it's running purely locally on your machine. That is what I would consider a private instance where you could do things like feed it information. Just something to consider is any information that goes in, if you ever allow access to that AI, is then open to anyone who has access to it. So there are certain circumstances where it might make sense for your business to utilize AI with private information, but you have to be really sure that it's not going to be able to get out there. I also have like an example. It's really easy to talk about how this is useful in theory, but it's very different to see how it's useful in practice. So we're going to go through an example here where I developed a website with a client, and I utilized ChatGPT in order to just kind of get what I would say is an outline going, so that I could further refine it to give the best website experience I could for this client. So when I'm doing a website for a client, I'm really looking for a sitemap. I need a competitor analysis. I need SEO research. I need content development. And I need to implement SEO on the pages. So let's look at a prompt that I use with a client that I've used with a client in order to kind of get to the outcome that we're looking for here. So we're going to start by providing some guidelines, some rails, so to speak. Act as a web designer and a marketing specialist with 20 years of experience supporting small businesses. We're providing a level of a seat of perspective that we're hoping that you engage with us from. While you're engaging from that seat of perspective, I'm going to provide a web page or a topic, and I want you to provide copy suggestions and SEO suggestions, call to actions, photos. Basically, I want you to consult on this website as if you have 20 years of experience as a small business marketer. Provide suggestions in bands of content, so what we see on the or what we see on screen at any one point in time. Uh, I'm going to start by providing a list of competitors. So I did a little competitor research in advance, and some Google search results and a list of SEO keywords. And I'm asking it to incorporate this as well as look for other competitors that I may have missed and other SEO keywords that I may have missed. And then after that, and then I provide the sitemap. I provide who our ideal customers are, the tools that we're using to build this website. And I'm saying before responding and before we really get started, before we dig in, these are the final list of guidelines that we're really looking for. We always want to make sure we have an outline. We always want to make sure that the word choice and the writing style we use is in our customer's voice. And we want to make sure that we're utilizing as much SEO keywords as possible. We don't want to see any emojis. We don't want to see any hashtags. We don't want to see any M dashes. We want it to be short, simple, sweet, to the point, no jargon, make it sound authentic. So we'll dive into kind of what that output looked like. So these are some screenshots. I've redacted some information for privacy reasons. But after going through that, providing the information from our client, this is the guidance that it's providing on how we should build out the web page. And you can see it's provided our calls to action that we were looking for, a short, punchy headline, some examples of imagery that we might want to use, and is doing it in that bands of content. So I can work on things one screen full of content at a time. You can see band one and two, it looks really nice. We keep going. Band three makes some suggestions here, provides some suggestions for some bullets or icons with text below them. Band four kind of gets more into the space. And as I'm looking at this, I'm going, hey, band three makes some suggestions for icons, but we don't really have any visuals for that. So, what icons are we using for band three? Oh, good catch. So then it makes several suggestions on the kinds of icons that we could utilize. So we can go back and we can implement those things. We implement those icons, we see what it looks like, we tweak the language a little bit. We try to make sure it looks authentic, make sure it looks very natural. We go in, we add in a few more keywords, and we end up with a part of a web page that's really looking a lot better for us here. So we revisit a little bit of kind of what we talked about at first and how we explored it here in this example. Context is incredibly important. I loaded it up with a ton of context, competitor research, SEO keywords, the existing website. I gave it everything that it needed for us to have a successful outcome. Iteration. So once we went through and we started working on it, we saw there was an area for improvement where we could use a little bit more refinement. We refined on that and we got to the outcome we were looking for. It's really good at pattern recognition. So we were able to really dial in the customer's voice, make sure we have everything that we're looking for from that perspective. In fact versus fiction, this had to be edited. I had to go back through and make sure that we weren't, making up stats, for example, or making up customer reviews. In a lot of ways, that can be a lot of work to go through and like go through and edit these things, but it can also save a lot of time as well. There are also a lot of specialized tools for AI. This is actually a good time. If you have any questions at this point please feel free to utilize the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself, you can. The rest of the discussion is going to kind of cover more specialized tools that one might use in different parts of their business. But if you have any questions about kind of using AI or what it looks like to use it during your workflow, please feel free. All right. So I am a marketing guy. So to kind of cover how AI can be helpful with marketing, there are multiple different aspects of marketing, but some of the bigger aspects, you have things like Canva, which is folks are typically very familiar with designs on Canva. You have things like Square, where they have it's web development, and you can do things on Square. Whoops. You do things on Square such as they have a photo studio where you can take a picture of a product on your table, and it'll remove the background and create an e-commerce style page for whatever it is that you take a picture of, for example. In Constant Contact, it has template generators where you can generate a template, a very simple template for starting email engagements. And then you have things like FeedHive, where it goes in and it looks at the analytics for some of the better performing posts over the last year or two in your social media and reschedules those better performing posts into the future so that you can kind of recycle some of the content that was best performing for you over time. On the content development side, we've all heard a lot about things like Photoshop or Synthesia, or you may have heard it called deep fake videos, where it's a video of a fake person. But you can also do things on Photoshop, like you see in this photo, where I've asked it to remove the cars from this image, and as long as you don't count the windows on the main state pier, it looks pretty good. There are also tools like Grammarly, which is one of my favorite tools that I utilize, which is really great for just analyzing tone and content. But of course, there are things like Copy AI and Jasper AI, which are just alternatives, and they really kind of dial in that content development side of things or the written content side of things. And I always try to remind folks here, just be sure to provide enough original content to avoid plagiarism when you're utilizing AI to write anything. And as I was mentioning before, there are tools like QuickBooks that have started to integrate AI into what they do. And they can do things like cash flow projections or a quarterly reports for your books. Or Zero also has these kinds of tools built in as well. But folks have been using AI in this realm for a while. If you've ever taken a picture of a receipt and uploaded that, that is another form of receipt track automated receipt tracking. And there are also tools coming out that say that they can help you file your taxes. Um, that's not something I would personally be super comfortable with at this time. Uh, and as a reminder, AI is not a replacement for sound financial advice. Sales, this one's also very interesting. You have things like Grab AI, which integrates with your accounting software and provides insights into customer purchasing habits. So if you have a customer who maybe makes a larger order every October, it'll let you know in August that it might be time to reach out to them in September about that. And then you have things like KnowledgeNet, which tracks connections across your business. So you can have your employees log into this or your team members log into this, and it'll let you know how hot or cold a connection might be to someone on your team and who can make the best introduction. Very helpful for those sales folks out there. And of course, we have things in the personal productivity realm of things. Zoom is a great example of that. We're utilizing it in this webinar, both for recording, but also AI summary can be very helpful if you do a lot of meetings and you're looking to do meeting notes. There are, of course, things like Fireflies AI, Reflect, which is a personal note-taking app, Perplexity, which is a rising star when it comes to the large language model, as it provides sources for its responses where you can actually specifically source different pieces of information, which is incredibly helpful. Then you have things like Rationale, which is just a decision-making AI that can help with SWOT analysis and pros and con outcomes. And of course, into the future, there are going to be a lot of tools that pop up that you'll want to keep an eye out for. Things like text to audio, Notebook LM, which is a Google product, already converts PDFs into podcast-like audio recordings. There are things that will create and generate slide decks for you. And of course, as you can see in this image here on the left, it's been famous in pop culture for a long time, but photo enhancement is starting to become a thing where you can enhance the quality and resolution of images. And I always like to kind of end on this one as well. AI is going in a lot of different directions into the future, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it bears out. One of my favorite possible outcomes is a company that's making a camera that sits over the trash can in a small restaurant or any kind of restaurant, and it just tracks the food waste. So you can see if you need to adjust your portion sizes to reduce the amount of food waste that you have in your restaurant. I think those kind of things are the exact sort of things that are going to make it much more competitive for small businesses uh, when it comes to utilizing AI, those kind of very focused tools like that, personally. Uh, that's all I have for today. Do we have any other questions about the utilization of AI or where you're at in your business with implementing AI?
Hi. Hey Dan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. So I am trying to scale up using AI, and I have a Canva, and I realize that my Wix website uses, I mean, it's there all over the place is what I'm realizing. And I've also tried some different things, but one tool I've kind of struggled with creating is um, email responses that are can be tailored to each request. I'm a registered main guide. We do like easy or experiential, but often uniquely designed to each customer. And I'm just not sure how to. And some of my responses are very consistent from time to time, but they all need to be um, changed a little bit. So, what would you recommend for trying to put together a more standardized workflow for email and responding to clients?
Yeah, that's one of those areas where when you're offering that kind of specialized service, it really makes it hard to integrate AI because of exactly what you're describing.
I know.
I think
Yes.
there's a potential solution here, though. Remember when I was talking about custom GPTs?
Yeah.
I think if you uploaded a bunch of information to a custom GPT or just a single chat thread on ChatGPT or Claude, and you just told it everything that you like, all of the different options, even though many of the options you're providing are custom, they're likely options that are being revisited. So it might not be the same one every time, but it might be the same one every 10 times.
Right.
So, and that might be something where a lot of those are, since they're custom, different pieces might fit together through different orders that you might take through clients. So having a single custom GPT that has all the different variations and options and just putting the email in there and saying, hey, I need an email back to this customer. This is what they're looking for. And it already has all that information. That might be a good starting point.
Yeah. And I've been, just for my own sanity, I've created a document that has table of contents for each kind of activity where I kind of dumped in previous emails, and I could certainly expand on that and put it into a custom chat. So that would work.
Yeah. Do we,
Dan, I got a question. I got a question for you.
yeah.
So I own a training consulting business, and I work with a lot of clients on putting together training programs. I've been hesitant on putting my stuff in because of what I'd asked you earlier about is the information that you use protected? Once you put your information in there, does it become available to everybody?
So once you put information in there, the safe assumption is that the AI is now training on that information.
Okay. So if I'm working with a company and I'm wanting to help them use Claude as an example to track deliverables, to track whatever, um, I know a couple of consultants that are doing that. They're actually using Claude and using companies' information with Claude. And the assumption was that if you use the paid version, it's protected. Is that true?
I mean, they might tell you that, but a lot of companies have said that a lot of times.
So it's not protected.
I don't believe them when they say that personally. I think that comes down to each individual person should decide if they think that they believe the data privacy expectations of the company that they're working with.
So if I'm working with a company and I utilize their information and I put all their financials in there, and they have a paid version, for example, of Claude, they want to use it for reports. They want to use it for generating whatever, any kind of information they need, Excel sheets or whatever. Um, they're taking a chance then, right?
In my opinion, yes.
Interesting.
Again, these companies have very extensive data privacy agreements and user agreements. So has Facebook, and they've broken their user agreements a lot.
Mm,
So has Google. Google's one of the companies we're talking about right now, and they've broken their user agreements a lot when it comes to privacy.
mm.
That's my opinion.
So could I, if I were using that, then I could be held liable, I would think.
I'm not a lawyer. I couldn't tell you.
Okay. All right.
I can tell you that in my business, when we don't have we don't run into those kinds of situations. That's just not the kind of work that we do.
Mm.
But we do utilize on-machine AI, so stuff that only runs on my computer. So any information that I put into it only ever runs on my computer, so it never goes anywhere else.
So if you're not paying for that kind of security, what's the advantage of going into a paid mode with any of these? You just get more features?
More features, more usage. Again, they promise that security. That is a part of what you're paying for.
Okay. All right.
It's a trust thing, right?
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, how I always think about it is it's much easier for me to trust the guy down the road that I can go and talk to and knock on his door than it is the company where I can't even find their phone number online.
I agree.
That's just me though. I'm everyone's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have any other questions today? All right, thank you everyone for joining me. I will be sending this out as a recording here in the next few days, as well as some information on upcoming workshops. If you are available, we'd love to see you at workshops upcoming in August. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.